Hi, I'm Stacy. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about my family. You won't believe what just happened. They asked me for financial support, but I accidentally found out that they were planning a trip to Hawaii without me, and they wanted me to pay for it. I refused, so they left me alone at a birthday party. I stared at the screen, blinking. Was this real? After 5 relentless years. The overtime, the skipped vacations, the never-ending Excel sheets. It finally happened. A promotion. From mid-level manager to senior project director. Complete with a salary boost that almost made me choke on my coffee. I had actually done it. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was Mom. Coming to dinner tonight. Dad made his legendary pot roast. I paused. Family dinners weren't really my thing. Not when they usually meant me being sidelined by the usual stars of the show. The twins. Still, I hadn't seen them in weeks. Yeah, I'll be there by 6. I replied, perfect. Can't wait, sweetie. I smiled as I put my phone down. Maybe this could be a good night. Maybe I'd finally get to share my win. Just this once, it could be about me. Growing up, Jake and Emma had always been the headline act. 8 years younger, always shining. While I was pulling double shifts to pay for college, they were breezing through AP classes. When I was grinding through my entry-level job, they were winning scholarships and trophies. Now, they were fresh grads, back at home, still basking in the golden glow of parental praise. And me. I was just hoping, maybe tonight, someone would ask about my day. I pulled up to my parents' house at 6:15. Dad was in his chair, TV on. Mom set the table. The twins were glued to their phones. Dinner went as usual. Dad talked about the hardware store. Mom mentioned her book club. Emma complained about job hunting. And Jake barely looked up. I waited for a pause. I have some news. 4 heads turned. I got promoted. Senior project director, and a big raise. Mom lit up. That's wonderful, honey. Dad nodded. It's about time they saw your talent. Jake grinned. Let's go, sis. Emma smirked. Guess you're paying for dinner next time. We laughed. But for once, the spotlight didn't shift away. It stayed on me. So, tell us about the new role. Dad said, putting down his fork. And just like that, I felt it, seen, heard, finally celebrated. For the first time in forever, I spent 20 uninterrupted minutes talking about my work. The promotion, my team, the massive project we were launching. And they listened, really listened. Asking questions, nodding, even sounding impressed. It felt like I'd slipped into an alternate timeline where my success finally mattered. Driving home later, I felt something I hadn't in years. Light free. All my life, I'd been the dependable one, the problem solver. Can you help with rent? A sibling. We need a new washing machine. Daughter, and I never said no. Not once, but tonight it wasn't about what I could give. It was about what I'd done, and that felt different, better. The following weeks passed in a rush. I dove into work headfirst, fueled by fresh purpose. My team was everything I hoped for. Sharp, driven, genuinely invested. If our launch succeeded, it would change everything. For the company and for me. Then slowly at first, the calls began, one after another. Stacy, sweetheart, could you help with the property taxes? They're higher than we budgeted. Hey, big sis. My laptop is dead. Think you could lend me $200 till I get something lined up? Stacy, love, the car's acting up again and your dad's hours got cut. Each time the ask sounded small, reasonable. Each time I wired the money, no questions. They were my family. How could I say no? The twins suddenly became more present, texting often, asking how work was going, dropping by unannounced. It was strange. They'd barely acknowledged my career before. Now they wanted dinner, updates, and attention. This apartment's way nicer than Mom and Dad's. Emma said one evening, curled up on my couch after inhaling the pasta I made. And your fridge is stacked. Jake added, popping open a beer. Must be nice to have cash like this. Emma murmured, eyes on her nails. I chuckled, but her tone stung. I work hard, Em. Of course. Jake said casually. By the way, could I borrow $100 for my car insurance? I handed it over without blinking. What was I supposed to do? They were blood, and somehow that still felt like a debt. 3 months into my new position, we wrapped the project early. The client was over the moon. The company raked in profits, and my team finally got their well-earned spotlight. I received a hefty bonus, enough to finally start thinking about buying my own place. That evening, I popped open a bottle of wine and called Derek, my friend who happened to be a realtor. I'm ready to buy. I said, city area, something modern, decent neighborhood. I've got the down payment covered. Finally. Derek laughed. I'll send you listings tomorrow. I didn't breathe a word of it to my family. Not yet. This time, I wanted it to be my moment. A milestone I chose just for me. No compromises, no rescuing. Just something I could proudly show them and say, look, I did this. For the next few weeks, Derek sent me listings almost every day. Some were tiny, some too far from the office, and most were laughably over budget, even with the bonus. But then he found it. The one. This checks all your boxes, he said, unlocking the front door. 2 bedrooms, open concept, and wait till you see the view. I stepped in and froze. The city skyline glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows, sunlight spilling across sleek counters and stainless steel appliances. The master had a walk-in closet I didn't even know I needed. Okay, what's the downside? I asked, still not quite believing it. Derek grinned. No catch. Seller's relocating overseas, wants a quick close. If you want it, we move now. By late afternoon, I had signed the papers. My bonus became a down payment. The mortgage was approved. And just like that, I owned a place, not just a roof over my head, mine. But even as I celebrated, the familiar pings didn't stop. Stacy, your dad's back is flaring up again. We'll need someone to handle the yard work. Mom said casually that night. How much? I sighed, phone already in hand. Just $300, sweetheart. You're such a blessing to this family. 2 days later, Jake messaged me. His car was acting up again. The next day, Emma called needing cash for a professional outfit for a big interview. Both came with floods of gratitude and vague promises to totally pay me back someday. We both knew they wouldn't. I didn't mind much. I was earning well. And if nothing else, they appreciated me. Even if it was only for my wallet. That Saturday, I woke up buzzing. Today was the day. I was finally going to tell them. I imagined their reactions. Shock, celebration, maybe even some pride. For once, I'd get to share something that was just mine. I spent the morning baking lemon bars. Mom's favorite. When I arrived, the house was quiet. Dad was snoring lightly in his recliner while the TV played something no one was watching. Mom sat at the kitchen table, frowning at a stack of bills. The twins were nowhere in sight. They're out with friends. Mom said without looking up, they'll be back in time for dinner. We prepped the meal together, falling into our usual rhythm. Me chopping, her marinating. We made small talk, neighborhood updates, book club drama, nothing heavy. Dad eventually stirred and wandered in, launching into a story about some shelving project in the garage. For a while, it felt almost normal, At 6 p.m. sharp, the front door flew open. Jake and Emma blew in like a whirlwind. Loud, laughing, caught in a minor argument over something pointless. They barely glanced at me until Mom called everyone to the table. Over dinner, I waited, watching conversation ping-pong between the twins, while I stayed quiet, patient. Then came the opening I'd been waiting for. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. "I've got something to share," I said, grinning. "I bought an apartment." I laid the photos on the table, used my bonus for the down payment. It's right downtown. 2 bedrooms, huge windows. I will move in next month. Silence. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. Jake stopped chewing. Emma's smile twitched. Dad cleared his throat. "Don't you think? Maybe you should have run that by us first." I stared. Why would I? "It's my apartment." "Because we're a family," Mom said, her tone sharp around the edges. "Big decisions shouldn't be made alone. It's my money." I said, voice flat, "I worked for that bonus." Dad frowned. "That money could have helped around here. The roof's leaking. Jake's still drowning in student loans." And just like that, my moment was gone. Swallowed by should-haves, what-abouts, and obligations I never agreed to. I stared at them, stunned. "I've helped you for years," I said, voice cracking. "I chipped in for college, covered bills, gave whatever you needed without hesitation. And we appreciate it." Mom replied, though her tone didn't match the words. "But this, it just feels selfish, Stacy." That word landed like a slap. Selfish for finally doing one thing. One thing. For myself after years of putting them first. Emma looked away. Jake became engrossed in his phone. Dad clenched his jaw, eyes fixed on his plate. No one said another word. Dinner dragged on in suffocating silence. I tried, asked questions, made small comments, got shrugs and grunts in return. When I finally stood up to leave, no one moved. No hug, no goodbye. "I'll see you later, I guess." I murmured at the door. Dad didn't respond. Mom nodded, tight-lipped. The twins didn't even glance up. I drove home with tears clouding the city lights, overwhelmed by guilt for something I shouldn't feel guilty about. I hadn't abandoned them. I just bought myself a place, but it was in that quiet drive, somewhere between heartbreak and exhaustion, that the truth hit me. To them, I wasn't a daughter. I was a provider, a bank account with a name. After 3 days of silence, I couldn't take it anymore. The sadness gave way to resolve. I still loved them. I wanted to fix things. So Tuesday night, I drove back to the house, rehearsing every word like a speech. Mom opened the door, surprised. "Hi," I said, forcing a smile. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside. Inside, Dad sat in front of the TV, and the twins were hunched over laptops at the dining table. All 3 looked up, faces blank but curious. "I want to take you all to dinner," I said before I lost my nerve. "Saturday night, Emilio's my treat." I thought maybe we could talk. The room went still. "Emilio's," Mom echoed, eyebrows rising. "That place downtown with the white tablecloths." I nodded. 7 p.m. I already booked us a table. Jake and Emma exchanged a look. That same old, silent twin language that always excluded me. "We'll be there," Dad said finally, his voice low. "Right." Mom nodded, "Of course. That's generous, Stacy." The smile didn't reach her eyes. Saturday came, and I dressed like I had something to prove. Because I did. I arrived early, checked everything twice, and straightened the silverware. They showed up right on time, looking sharp. Mom even wore lipstick. The waiter arrived for drinks. Dad ordered the most expensive scotch on the menu. Mom picked a premium red wine. Jake and Emma went for cocktails that cost more than an entire meal at our usual spot. No one said thank you. I smiled and ordered the cheapest glass of house wine. When the waiter walked away, I took a deep breath. I wanted to say I'm sorry if the apartment upset anyone. I should have talked to you before making such a big decision. The lie sat heavy in my mouth, but I wanted peace more than I wanted to be right. Mom reached over, patting my hand gently. We were just caught off guard. As she said, "It felt like we were shut out. I understand." I replied, "I really am sorry." And just like that, the tension broke. Dad launched into a story from his part-time job. Emma pulled out her phone to show party photos. Jake mentioned a possible interview coming up. When the food arrived, I wasn't surprised to see they ordered the priciest items on the menu. Dad's prime steak, Mom's seafood tower, Emma's truffle risotto, Jake's veal chops. The bill hit over $600. Still, hearing them laugh and include me again, it almost felt worth it. Almost. After that night, things went back to normal, but with a new edge. The money requests kept coming. Bigger, bolder, more frequent. My parents called multiple times a week. There was always something urgent. Car trouble, a leaking pipe, back taxes. The twins messaged daily, their updates ending with, "Can you send?" At first, I tracked every transfer in a spreadsheet, but watching the numbers climb made me feel sick. Eventually, I stopped looking. A few Sundays later, over dinner at my parents' house, I noticed something was off. Mom and Dad kept exchanging glances as I cleared plates. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "Stacy, your mom and I need to talk to you about something." My stomach clenched. I sat back down. The twins suddenly made themselves scarce. Emma vanished upstairs. Jake grabbed his phone and mumbled something about a call. I looked at my parents. "What's going on?" Mom folded her hands like she was praying. "We're really struggling, sweetheart. The bills, the repairs last month, it's too much." Dad leaned in. "We were hoping you could send us around $1,500 a month. Just until things settled down." I stared at them, stunned. I could have said a dozen things, that the twins were grown and capable. That part-time jobs weren't cutting it, that I was carrying more than my share. But instead, I heard myself say, "Okay, I can do that." The weight lifted instantly from their faces. Mom's eyes filled with tears. "You're such a good daughter." She whispered, "We don't know what we'd do without you." That night, I set up the auto transfer. $1,500 every month directly into their account. I could handle it. Even with the mortgage, the transfers weren't breaking me. If $1,500 a month kept things peaceful, maybe that was the price of keeping the family together. 6 months went by. I barely noticed the auto pay anymore. Everyone seemed content. I buried myself in work, a massive new project that could lead to another bonus. My team relied on me, and I was clocking more hours than ever. Then came the dinner that broke everything. When I walked in, they were huddled around Dad's laptop, voices overlapping in excitement. "The My Suite has floor-to-ceiling views," Emma said. "Yeah, but the Royal Hawaiian has private beach access." Dad countered, "What are you guys looking at?" I asked, setting down my purse. They jumped, like I'd walked in on something I wasn't supposed to see. Mom slammed the laptop shut, but not fast enough. I caught a glimpse of a luxury resort, sun-soaked sand, turquoise waves. "Stacy, you're early," Mom said quickly. "We were just browsing vacation ideas." "Hawaii?" I asked, taking off my coat. Mom nodded, cheeks flushed. "Your dad and I are drained from work. The twins need some time to recharge too. We thought a family getaway might help." I blinked. "A break from what?" "They haven't worked in over a year. Jake scowled. You think it's easy out there right now? Emma rolled her eyes. Anyway, we've narrowed it down to this great package. Just under $20,000 for the 4 of us. I froze, wait for. Aren't I included? Silence, tense, avoidant, telling. Mom glanced at Dad. He looked anywhere but at me. Sweetheart. Mom started. We didn't think you'd be able to get away from work. You're swamped, right? The timing wouldn't work. Dad added, still not making eye contact. The realization landed like a punch to the chest. So let me get this straight. I said, voice quiet but shaking. You want me to pay for your vacation, and I'm not even invited. Emma gave an awkward laugh. When you say it like that, it sounds awful. How else should I say it? I snapped, you've got a good income now. Mom said, voice sharper, and family helps each other. Isn't that what you've always said? I have a mortgage now. I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Utilities, taxes. I can't just drop $20,000 on a vacation I'm not even invited to. Dad's eyes darkened. So your fancy condo matters more than your family's happiness. That's not what I said. I snapped. But come on, this is absurd. You choose to work part-time. The twins haven't worked a single day since graduation. If everyone had jobs, maybe you wouldn't need me to fund your getaway. Silence fell like a weight. Mom's jaw tightened. Dad stood abruptly. I think it's best if you leave. He said coldly, we've heard enough. I gathered my things, hands trembling. No one looked at me. No one followed me to the door. No one said goodbye. I drove home with tears streaking my cheeks. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were pure, furious clarity. For the first time, I wasn't confused. I saw my family for what they were. Comfortable with my sacrifices, but never with my boundaries. A week passed, they didn't call. And for once, I didn't rush to fix it. But with my birthday approaching, something inside me cracked. Maybe they'd cooled off. Maybe they missed me too. I took a breath and dialed Mom's number. She picked up on the 4th ring. Stacy, she said, flat and unreadable. Hi, Mom. I wanted to let you know I'm celebrating my birthday next Saturday. I've booked a table at Carlton Steakhouse. Private room. I'd love for you all to come. Silence. Then. What time? 7 p.m. I've got the back room reserved. Another pause. We'll be there. No happy early birthday. No warmth, just words. I hung up, feeling a strange mix of hope and dread. All week, I threw myself into preparation. A new dress. Deep emerald silk that clung in all the right places. Hair and makeup done by professionals. If they were coming, I wanted to look like someone worth showing up for. At 6:45, I arrived at Carlton S. The hostess led me to the private room. I ordered a glass of champagne and waited. 7 came and went. Then 7:15. By 7:13, I'd checked my phone 3 times. Called each of them. No answer. At 8, I was halfway through my 3rd glass of champagne. At 8:13, the waiter approached, gentle and apologetic. Ma'am, would you like to place an order? The kitchen's closing soon. I gave him a tight smile, just a few more minutes. They'll be here, but I knew. At 9, I paid the tab. Drinks, room fee, and a generous tip for the staff's patience. Then walked out into the night, head high, heart shattered, dignity barely holding. They hadn't just missed my birthday. They made it louder by not showing up. In my car, I checked my phone one last time. No calls, no texts. But just as I turned the key in the ignition, a notification lit up. A message from Mom. My hand trembled as I opened it. This is what happens when you're selfish and don't help your family. Maybe next time you'll think twice before saying no to us. Happy birthday. I stared at the words, numb. They hadn't forgotten my birthday. They deliberately stood me up. To teach me a lesson, I drove home in a fog, anger and disbelief tangled in my chest. At home, I kicked off my heels, poured myself a glass of wine, and raised it to the empty room. Happy birthday to me. Then I opened my banking app, scrolled to the automatic transfer, $1,500, monthly. I canceled it with a single tap. No hesitation, no guilt, just a quiet, profound relief. The following week passed in silence. No texts, no calls, no emails. It was peaceful, even if a little lonely. Then came Sunday. My phone lit up like fireworks. Missed calls from Mom, Dad, Jake, and Emma. Texts, voicemails, all within an hour. I ignored them, buried myself at work. But by evening, curiosity won. I pressed play on the first voicemail. "Stacy, it's Mom. The money didn't show up this month. Must be some error. Call me." Next, we checked with the bank. No transfer is pending. This is serious. By the fifth message, Mom's voice was tight with panic. "We have bills due tomorrow. What are we supposed to do? Please call us." At 10 p.m., I finally did. She answered on the first ring. "Where have you been? We've been trying to reach you all day." The money never came. I canceled the transfers. I said calmly, a beat of stunned silence, "You what?" She whispered, "I stopped sending money." "But why?" "Stacy, we need it. We could lose the house. You abandoned me on my birthday." I said, anger barely contained, and then sent me that text, that lesson. Well, I learned it. I learned I'm just your walking ATM. That's not true. She cried. We were just upset about the vacation. It was a joke. I laughed. Sharp and humorless, some joke. Leaving your daughter alone at a restaurant on her birthday. We're sorry, okay. We made a mistake. But we really, truly need that money. That's not my problem anymore. Maybe it's time Dad worked full-time. Maybe Jake and Emma need to stop chasing dream jobs and take any jobs. I'm done. I hung up. Then I blocked them. Calls, texts, emails, everything. The next morning, I alerted security at my office and the doorman at my building. They might come looking. I wanted no part of it. Sure enough, they tried. Dad showed up at work. Emma lingered outside my building the next day. I walked past them both without a word. Through cousins, I heard things were rough. Dad had picked up full-time hours. The power got shut off for a week. The twins, whining all the way, were applying for retail jobs, claiming they were too overqualified to fold jeans or ring up groceries. I felt nothing. They made their choices, and I had made mine. 6 months later, a letter arrived with no return address. But I knew the handwriting. Mom's. Inside was a belated birthday card. "We're sorry, we miss you. Please call when you're ready." I slipped the card into my desk drawer, closed it, locked it. Maybe one day I'd forgive them. Maybe one day I'd open that drawer again, but not today. Today I was focused on me. My work, my peace, my life, the one I built on my own without them. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new twist or inspiring journey. See you in the next video.